there. In this section, we're going to talk about how to hand letter using your iPad Pro, the Apple Pencil, and the app Procreate. So first things first, when you get your iPad Pro, you're going to want to set it up, and it's really, really simple. As always, Mac makes things really easy for the user. So you'll take the cap off your pencil, your Apple Pencil, and you'll want to charge it first. So then you can put that right in the end, right here, or you can use the adapter they give you to plug it into the wall. Once it's charged, you'll go into Settings, you'll hit Bluetooth, and you'll find under My Devices Apple Pencil, and you'll make sure that it's connected. Once you've done that, you'll want to go into your App Store and purchase Procreate. Last I checked, it was about $5.99 and well worth it. So we're going to go into Procreate, and I'm going to walk you through real quickly some of the basics that you'll want to know and understand as you're using Procreate. The first thing you'll come to is you'll come into the gallery, and it's going to look like this, except yours will be blank the first time you use it. You'll go up to the top right corner and hit the plus button, and that will create a new project. And it'll give you all sorts of different options about the sizes you want to use. But I'm actually just going to go into this. I've already started. So we're going to start over here on our right-hand side up at the top, and you'll see a dot of color. Usually it'll start white or black. And this is your color wheel. And so they've got all sorts of different ways to select the color. The outside is the way you're going to select the hue or what color you're going to choose. And then inside is you can sort of change like how much white, how much dark, how light, all of that kind of good stuff. And then up here you can always choose your previous color, so that if you've moved around and messed with it and you really don't like it, you can always go back to your previous color. They also have some palettes already set up for you, and you can add to them. So that's your color. Over here is your layers, and this is one of the best features, in my opinion, of the Procreate app, and that's the ability to have layers. And just like if you're familiar with Photoshop, working in layers allows you to easily correct mistakes without having to address the entire project that you've done. It also allows you to do some really cool effects that, as you get more comfortable with Procreate, you can do some great stuff. Next to that is the eraser tool, and then you have your brushes. They've already given you a lot of brushes with the app, but you can also import your own. Over here is the selector tool, and you can select, and this will select an entire layer. So right now we're working within this layer, and you can move it as you wish. Oops. And then down here you can see that it's either freeform or magnetic, and that will help you. It'll sort of snap it, and so I like it magnetic, but you can also, once it's selected, you can also flip it horizontally or vertically, or rotate it at 45-degree angle. All sorts of really cool stuff. This, the little sort of squiggly S, allows you to select just certain portions of your art to change. So I've selected just the P and the R, and then once that's selected, I hit the arrow button right next to it, and that will allow me to move it as I wish. And so that's a really cool function. Again, if I'm on magnetic, it will sort of help me snap it back into position. And you can see I still did it wrong. There we go. All right. Next to that is adjustments. So if you want to make adjustments to the layer in opacity, blur, sharpen, hue, saturation, brightness, color balance, curves, all that kind of good stuff, this is where you would make those adjustments in the app. And then right next to that are actions. It's the little tool up in the top left corner. So I'm going to walk you through some of the actions to highlight the ones I use most. First of all, insert flat image. I use this all the time. And it brings up 3 different options: iTunes, Photos, or Import from Cloud. A lot of stuff I have just saved in my photos, and I keep templates, textures, watercolor backgrounds, staging, so like stock photos that maybe I might want to hand letter on top of. You can see how easy it is to hand letter right on top of a picture and have it Instagram or social media ready. But we're going to go back to where we were. So you can insert a flat image. You can share your artwork. So once you're finished what you're doing, you can share your artwork in lots of different formats, and then you can choose where it's going. So you can choose to send it in mail or share it to Facebook or send it in a message or save the image to your camera roll. The other thing I really like about this app is it makes short little videos of whatever you created, the process of creating it. And they're only like 15-second videos, but they're really fun for sharing on Instagram and social media for higher engagement, because videos are higher engagement and you don't have to worry about staging and all that kind of good stuff. So those are your actions. Those are the things that I do most in this top toolbar. And then, of course, the gallery, you can always go back and open up a new one or create a new art. Now, over here you have this other little toolbar on the left side. The top is the brush size. So you can change how big. So you can see that's really thick. Or you can come down here and make it really thin. So you can change your brush size. This center square is your color selector, and it'll bring up a little magnifying glass. In the top part of the magnifying glass you can see is the, hold on, come back, is the color you're over right now. And it's a great way to keep color consistency within your work of art. The bottom is the brush opacity, so you can see that it becomes more transparent the further down you go, and the higher up you go, the more opaque it is. And then right below that, and I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but are two what looks like U-turns, and that's undo and redo. And those are great little shortcuts. Also, as far as to undo something, if you write and you don't like it, you can tap with 2 fingers on the screen to undo something. And that is a wonderful quick shortcut. So now that you know generally what the highlights are and the functions and how to use them, let's start a new piece of work. And I'll show you some things that you can do with it. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to show you a little bit on how to use your layers within your piece of work to create something really unique. So first we're going to go over to insert flat image, and this is where you could do a watercolor wash and take a picture of it, but I have some textures and watercolor backgrounds already downloaded. So we'll do this nice bright pink glitter. So oftentimes when I pick something like this, it's like an all over color. Usually what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer over top of it. You're going to go up here to layers and you're going to hit the plus mark, and it's going to give you a new layer. You can click on the box that shows the layer to fill the layer, and we're going to fill it. Oopsie doodle. I'm going to go over here to my color selector and make sure I've selected white, and then we're going to go fill it again. And now it's filled with white. And then I'm going to, because I'm on a new layer, and that's really important, I'm on layer 2, I'm going to go to my eraser tool. And you can see in the eraser tools that you also have to choose from all the brushes that you've already imported. And I really love that. And so now you can see that it just brings through what was behind it. And so you can very quickly create a really neat writing without all the work. So it's a really easy way to use layers to create color and variation. All right, so that's one way to do it. We're going to go over here. We're going to remove a layer, you can swipe left and hit delete, or you can just hide the layer by unchecking the box, and we'll just uncheck the box. So now I'm going to create a new layer, and instead I'm going to go use my brush, and it's still white, and I'm going to do the same thing. So I've selected my brush, and now I can write over the layer in white. Now, if you could certainly do other colors. White just shows up best on this. And I really like doing it in layers. You could also do it with your eraser tool and erase parts of this layer. Or if you wanted to go down to layer 1, you could erase parts of that letter and it would give the same effect. But I like using the new layer because it allows you to do some things with it. So for example, let's draw a heart over here. Okay, I've drawn a heart. Well, actually, you know what? Let's create a new layer. I'm going to create a heart. And we want that heart to be symmetrical. So we're going to go over here and I'm going to duplicate the layer. So you swipe left and hit duplicate. And then we're going to drag, oh wait, I'm not ready to do that. So now that I've duplicated the layer, I'm going to select that one layer and then hit the arrow to select the specific arrow, and I'm going to flip it. Okay? And then I'm going to bring it over and weave. There we go. And so now we have a heart that's perfectly symmetrical. And I want to I'm going to link the layers, so I'm going to press and hold the box. And then, sorry. You can press within the box and then hit merge down and it will link the two layers. Now let's say I want to fill that layer. I can touch and hold the color selector up top and then bring it and drop it and fill it. So you can see that's one way to do it. Another thing which you can do if let's say you wanted to make it a little bit ombre, we're going to go back and select the white. And let me select a new brush. We're going to go to marker. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it all the way big, but then I'm going to bring the opacity way down. And, oops. What's my marker doing? Let's go select a different one. I'm going to do painting. We'll do the rounded brush. And we're going to bring the opacity all the way down. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, can you see that it's creating like an ombre effect within the watercolor? And the great thing about that is you're working within the layers, so it's only painting within that one piece of art, and then you can move it on around, and we can, you know, I'm gonna freeform it so I can move it like that. So that's a really cool ability. And also when you're doing that, a great way, and you can see I made the mistake of when I was doing the opacity, what I should have done is I should have alpha locked it, which is swiping to the left, and then it won't color outside of that layer. We're going to go start a new, so that's one way to use layers, a way to use your brushes. We're going to go back to the gallery and start a new one. And I want to show you how easy it is to use your practice lettering sheets. And this is something that I'll often do just for mindless practice to keep my skills up. So I'm going to go, I've created a new screen. I'm going to go to my insert flat image and I'm going to go to photos. And I've already saved a bunch of my templates and guides to, and I've you'll find in the resource section of this class all these hand lettering guides, and you can download them and put them on your Procreate app so that you can start practicing. And again, I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to select a color. We'll do something fun and pretty. Okay. We're going to select the brush we want. If you're looking for brushes, there's some great ones on Creative Market. And we're just going to go through, and again, hand lettering on the iPad is very similar to in real life, where again, you're just sort of up light, down heavy. And if you're finding that you're having a hard time, go slower. You don't need to go fast. And you can see I've used sort of a medium weight, but we can also bump that up a little bit to make our downstrokes even heavier. And I'm just going to go through all of these. And I think especially as you're starting with the Procreate app and lettering on the iPad, it's important to practice this stuff to get a feel for how much pressure to apply and how the pen moves. In some ways I find it easier. Oops. In some ways I find it easier because, you know, the iPad screen is so smooth. You don't have to, your pen doesn't catch on the paper at all. Also, what I love about practice sheets is it's mindless. You don't have to think about where your brush is going. You don't have to think about how you're going to form the letters. Oops. You just do it. And so you can see how much fun, and like, again, when you're done, you can just delete the layer or hide the layer and start a new one and then start all over again. And so it's a great way to build that muscle memory without printing off lots of paper and wasting all the printer ink, because I don't know about you, but my printer ink is expensive. So I love practicing on the iPad because it saves me lots of money and time, and it's easy, and I can take it everywhere I go and practice even if I only have a couple of minutes. So I love that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and delete these layers. And I want to show you one more thing. As you're creating your own work of art, you know, we've talked about sketching out your work beforehand and using guidelines and things like that. Well, there's a couple of ways I do that here on the Procreate app. And the first way is I go into my brushes. Where'd it go? Textures. I go to textures and I select grid. Okay. And I'm going to select like a gray color for that. And I'm going to make sure everything is pushed to the top. And I'm going to start in the corner that's not over here. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to, in one stroke without picking up my finger, I'm going to draw a grid on the entire board. Okay? And so now we have a grid, which is perfect for making sure your lettering is straight. And once you're done that, you can hit the selector tool and really make it as big as you want. So like if you want a more spread out grid, or if you want something a little more close together. Okay. So we're going to do that. And then I'm going to go up here to the layer, and you can click the N on layers, and it'll show you the opacity and all these other, like, and again, this is very similar to some things that you have in, some options that you have in Photoshop. But I'm going to reduce the opacity so it's not quite so obvious. And then I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to go grab one of my favorite brushes. And we'll pick a pink. And then I'm going to show you, oops. Now I'm gonna bump that up a little bit. Oops, see, I've gotten a little. So again, I sort of messed up some letters, and the great thing about the iPad is that you can just go back. You know, I might make it more medium. So I'm sort of bouncing my letters, but using the guide. There we go. I love lettering. And so now we have the writing, and you can go up here, and we're just going to make our grid go away. And there we have our lettering. And so we can always go back and fix some things if you want to like thicken up your downstrokes, you know. Or you can go up here and we can lighten it up and we can add shadow. And again, this is what I really love. And actually what I would do probably is I would go up here and I would add another layer. And I would move it so that it's behind the other layer. And again, this is what's great about it. So if we move it down, it's behind the other layer. So even if you get it a little wrong, it's so forgiving. And again, I'm just doing this quickly for you to see just how easy this is with the iPad. So once you're done your work of art, you can go up here and you can export it by hitting on the tool, action, and then go to share, and then share your artwork. And then I always just save my image. But then the great thing is it's always in your gallery for you to go back to and do as you wish. So that is just a real quick intro on how to use Procreate on the iPad Pro with your Apple Pencil. And I hope you've enjoyed this brief tutorial in our Busy Girls Guide to Hand Lettering.